CZ says that very few trading strategies will beat the simple buy and hold strategy. And I bring this up because it took me 13 years, Heidi and I, 13 years before we sold our first Bitcoin. Yes, that means I held Bitcoin through all the ups and downs because I'm paranoid from what the US dollar was doing. I understand what central banks are doing. They're printing ridiculous amounts of currency, as I'm going to get into pretty soon. And there's nothing else that can stave off inflation or like protect you from inflation like Bitcoin. There's just nothing out there, right? Gold is up 4x since about 2017. Bitcoin is up 30x. So I'm just saying you can hold both, but the number one thing that I'm going to be holding, the number one asset that doesn't have an inelastic supply is Bitcoin, okay? Now let's go on to the Fed Reserve. Something big is about to happen right now. I'm going to cover this tweet from Vanessa. There's some things that she doesn't understand, but we're going to cover that, all right? It's a good tweet though. The next few days are about to get crazy. Trump is about to nominate the next Fed Reserve chair, and prediction markets are expecting it will be Rick Ryder. First off, Trump doesn't nominate the Federal Reserve chair, okay? So in case you didn't know who Rick Ryder is, it's BlackRock's chief investment officer. And
it's one heck of a coincidence.
Exactly.
BlackRock owns the Fed, obviously.
Okay.
And the ones who really nominate what's going on are the big banks in New York.
There's three of them.
The Wall Street banks.
Yep. Who are the main three?
JP Morgan.
Yep. JP Morgan.
Bank of America.
Bank of America.
Wells Fargo.
Exactly. Wells Fargo. So that's who is controlling this game, okay? It's not the president. The president doesn't have any control whatsoever. If you don't know that by now, read a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island. It'll at least start you with your financial education, because if you don't understand who the Federal Reserve is, you don't understand a lick about monetary policy. You don't understand money whatsoever, okay? Most people don't. People from Harvard don't understand money, and I'm going to cover this as well. Okay, so the same BlackRock that launched a Bitcoin ETF, the same BlackRock that holds $70 billion in Bitcoin, the same BlackRock that has been buying up stakes in mining metals and rare earths. This BlackRock here, part of the Federal Reserve, own 22% of the shares of the Federal Reserve. They own the military-industrial complex, guys. Okay, so I digress, but you can only imagine what that means, okay? You've heard wars and stuff. Yeah. BlackRock, think BlackRock, and think the owners of that. Now, Trump has also made it a requirement that whoever he nominates must cut rates. And he's calling for 1% interest rates. So in other words, cutting interest rates destroys the value of the US dollar. I know a lot of people don't know that, but I think you guys do know this. But that is why the US dollar will keep going down and down and down. The value will. The more they print and the more they lower interest rates. Low rates equals pro-crypto Fed share. They're not pro-crypto, okay? Give me a freaking break. Yeah, what's up?
They're pro-self-interest.
Exactly, they're pro-self-interest. That's what they are. Institutional bags already packed. I agree with that. I think that they are just about done with their bag packing. And then once we have that, I think we're going to skyrocket. Now, we also have Ray Dalio. Keep in mind, he is a financial titan of the traditional financial world, okay? This guy missed Bitcoin. With hundreds of advisors, he missed Bitcoin. How did he miss Bitcoin? Oh my gosh. Okay, so he says it's now happening. The existing fiat monetary order and the domestic political order and the international geopolitical order are all breaking down. So we are on the brink of wars. It's all happening because the big cycle that is driven by 5 forces I've described repeatedly and laid out in detail in my book, The Changing World Order. So I would, instead of reading The Changing World Order, read Heidi's book. Why am I saying this? Because, you're going to think, well, Ray Dalio, he's like a financial titan. He's a billionaire. He missed Bitcoin. We bought Bitcoin very early because we understand money. He was lazy. He's older, so he doesn't want to learn new things. It's hard to teach a new dog new tricks. I think that's what the saying is. Okay, so that's why I say get her book instead. Learn about money. That's a perfect book for you. Okay, so let's go over to Tucker Carlson suggesting Bitcoin could replace the US dollar as the global reserve currency.
Really, there needs to be a new global reserve currency. You don't want it to be one owned by a geopolitical rival. So why wouldn't Bitcoin be the new global reserve currency?
He's full of crap. It ain't going to replace the US dollar as a reserve currency. No way in heck is the Federal Reserve, who cannot control Bitcoin, going to allow the US dollar to be replaced by Bitcoin. You know what's going to be replaced by? Stable coin, a government stable coin, a closed source blockchain. That's what's going to be happening. Been calling it here for years, guys. So QE Infinity has an interesting tweet. The dollar is crashing, according to Twitter. Reality, the dollar is near its highs and is down 11% this year, which is a lot. The DXY was 80 back in 1992. So he's giving you reference to this. So the thing is that he says, don't be gaslit by this garbage. Well, first off, the US dollar back in 1980 is vastly different than the US dollar now. It's lost a lot of value. I think it's lost about 70 or 80% of its value since 1980. And that is why even on Twitter, I go, guys, like when people are saying silver is hitting all-time highs. Yes, in dollar terms, it's hitting all-time highs, but not in inflationary terms. You have to understand there's a huge difference. Silver was at $50 back in 1980. That $50 is now worth about $210 inflation adjusted. So you have to include inflation. So back to this, the DXY is just a currency in a basket of currencies, okay, that are all losing value. So the DXY doesn't have any bearing of reality. There's no anchor there, okay? What you really need to look at is what inflation is doing. And the value of the US dollar has lost incredible amounts of its purchasing power. You know this. This is why prices rise. Okay, this is why Bitcoin rose from under a cent to $126,000 within like 15, 16 years. There's a reason for that. And this is going to create a huge disconnect between the haves and have-nots. And I cover this right now. Let's go over this. Boomers hold $78 trillion in assets. Millennials hold $14 trillion in assets. The wealth transfer is coming, and the next generation isn't buying bonds. They're probably not going to buy a lot of stocks because they can't hold the stocks. I think these kids nowadays are going to be much more wise than us. I think they're going to be buying things like Bitcoin, Ethereum. They're going to want to play with meme coins, which is crazy. But, you know, like some alts as well, maybe Solana, who knows? But they're going to definitely be playing a huge role in the crypto market. And because it's more open source, stocks are not open source, by the way. That is why kids want more freedom. You know, they're going to get sick of the banks because they're going to look at their families, and they're going to go, wait a second, they're struggling. They're at a job right now. I don't want to do this. I want to think a little bit ahead. I want to make sure that I protect myself from inflation, because kids are going to learn about inflation really fast, especially now that how much the Federal Reserve is printing. They're printing another $1.2 trillion for a spending bill. I just covered this the other day. So they're going to see that, and they're going to go, yeah, I need protection. And so I'm going to go into Bitcoin, probably Monero, especially when central bank digital currencies come out and other things like that. And they're going to be doing really well. So I'm going to end it with this. Nations are buying Bitcoin. Institutions are bullish on Bitcoin. I just shared with you that yesterday. And the majority of retail couldn't care less about Bitcoin. That should tell you something. Let me know down below if you are still bullish on Bitcoin, because there's not too many bulls out there anymore, which is usually the best time to buy. Talk to you soon.